Good evening. Wish you a very happy Republic Day. There's a major statement that's coming in from the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen after Republic Day parade, where she, along with the President of the European Council, Antonio da Costa, were chief guests. Now she's shared her thoughts on social media platform. Ursula von der Leyen has written, and I quote, "It is the honor of a lifetime to be the chief guest at the Republic Day celebrations. A successful India makes the world more stable, prosperous and secure, and we all benefit." Unquote. That's a very major statement for the chief guest of the Republic Day to make, and that too just before the summit level talks begin. A successful India makes the whole world more stable, prosperous and secure, and we all benefit. The comments underline growing momentum of India's ties with the European Union and perhaps a fresh push to the India-EU trade deal. Now, European EU Vice President Kaja Kallas also took to social media to highlight the strong momentum for closer cooperation with India and beyond a trade deal. This is talk of strategic cooperation, military to military cooperation, where she wrote, "Here is strong momentum for closer cooperation with India, and we are seizing it. It's a pleasure to be in New Delhi and an honor to attend the Republic Day celebrations. As a symbol of our deepening bond, personnel from our European Union naval operations, Atlanta and Aspides are taking part in the parade for the first time." Then she goes on to say, "Tomorrow at the summit, we will take our relationship forward by signing the European Union-India Security and Defence Partnership." And this, according to her, will deliver concrete results in areas such as maritime security, cyber security and counter-terrorism. The trade numbers, incidentally, between India and the European Union are also significant. If we were to talk about the year 2024-25, the total goods and trade and services, the business between India and EU, that's a 27-member bloc, crossed $190 billion. India's export to Europe include around $76 billion in goods and about $30 billion in services. EU goods to India, EU's exports to India stand at about $60.7 billion. What can change? What will change once this landmark deal is inked? For India, the potential gains are in very major job-intensive sectors. For example, textiles, garments. Duties are around 10%. Categories that actually took a hit after EU reduced benefits under the GSP framework in 2023. Apparel, pharmaceuticals, machinery. India is also pushing hard for better access to India's skilled professionals and for smoother pathways and services in areas like information technology and services exports to Europe. For Europe, India remains a tough market because of much higher import duties, and especially in areas like automobile manufacturing and spares. So there's a weighted average tariff of about 9.3%. The EU now wants deeper entry into sectors like automobiles, automobile components, chemicals, plastics, expanded access to services, investment, and also government procurement. But the deal is not just about tariffs, it's also about negotiations, rules negotiations, because India is also seeking easier mobility of Indian professionals and a relief in issues like social security contributions. EU is pushing for stronger commitments on labor, environment, intellectual property. So there are, as some analysts argue, some red flags. India is flagging concerns that even if tariffs drop, gains could be diluted by EU's carbon border levy and also non-tariff barriers like compliance standards and certification costs and so on. How is all of this being dealt with? Geeta Mohan, India Today's Foreign Affairs editor, joins us with the latest. And Geeta, you've been tracking India-EU deal for quite a long while now. The optics, Geeta, were all perfect today. What do we expect in terms of nuts and bolts on the 27th, once tomorrow the summit happens?
Well, it is everyone. A very, very important meeting. It comes at a time when we are seeing volatility in global markets, in geopolitics, particularly to do with how India's US partner has been acting. And that's the reason why it is imperative, not just for India, but also for the European Union, to have a deal with a country which is not just a huge market for Europe, but also has potential for becoming a manufacturing and a supply chain hub, circumventing all the kind of tariffs that are being imposed forcefully, unilaterally on European countries, on India, so on and so forth. So what we're looking at is a lot of aspects that will be covered, which you just mentioned. It's not just about trade, it's also about defense, strategic cooperation and partnership that also will be seeing a massive conversation and movement forward. It is also to do with the fact that the India and EU are looking at securing the Indo-Pacific waters, also to do with mobility and technology transfer, digital diplomacy, AI, all the aspects that India has been covering with various other countries. But the deals have not fructified yet, is something that we will be seeing a conclusion of tomorrow. So the announcement of the conclusion of the deal.
Geeta, how long before effects are noticed on ground and the ratification process? And if I may, India was very hopeful that India-US trade deal would happen quickly. That perhaps may spur other partners. But can it now be the other way around?
Well, it seems like it's going to be the other way around, because after the announcement of the conclusion of the deal, there's going to be a lot of ironing out of the legal aspects when it comes to the nitty-gritties. And like we were discussing earlier, Gaurav, there's a lot of respect that has been accorded to the red lines India has put forth when it comes to dairy, etc. But there are, like you rightly pointed out, issues and concerns that India is also taking into account, particularly to do with carbon. So given that there are still a lot of areas that need to be ironed out, there are legal aspects that will be clarified, covered, put on paper, and then it will go to the Council for clearance. Once that happens, the European Council clears it, then it will be taken up in Parliament and ratified. So it is a process, but I am hoping, and we're looking at maybe expediting of the process. Time is of the essence over here, and at this point in time when everybody is facing massive tariffs, weaponization of tariffs, so to say, it is imperative and important that these countries start working on it and move faster. So we are looking at maybe a faster pace, but how soon will it be implemented? It could take a while, it could take a few months maybe, but not longer than that.
Okay, because this is mutually beneficial. And look at the number of mutually beneficial agreements that India has inked recently. New Zealand, United Kingdom, a number of other countries. What happens next to India, US? Geeta and I and our entire team would be tracking the story very closely. Geeta, for the moment, many thanks. This Republic Day, the 77th Republic Day, there were several key highlights. 150 years of Vande Mataram, that's something that we will talk about in greater detail, because the way Vande Mataram inspired the nation to fight for freedom, the hope and aspiration is by 2047 it will inspire this generation and future generations to fight for a Viksit Bharat or a developed India and take that same pride in our motherland. But there was another message, and a very significant message. Operation Sindoor. India showcased full spectrum battle readiness, from the phased battle array to the 7 aircraft Operation Sindoor formation featuring the Rafales, the Sukhois, the MiG-29s, the Jaguar deep penetration strike aircraft, and a number of firsts this Republic Day, including that fly past in two parts into segments, the animal contingent, which included the Zanskar ponies, the Bactrian camels, the battle-ready dogs, the Raptors. Security was high-tech. We get you more in this report.
विहंगम दृश्य आज की इस भव्य परेड का।
And now comes the tri-services tableau of Indian Defence Forces depicting Operation Sindoor.
Operation Sindoor took center stage at the 77th Republic Day parade at the Kartavya Path. a high-voltage tri-services tableau, heavy metal on display, and the iconic Sindoor fighter formation.
And now comes the tri-services tableau.
On ground, the tri-services tableau. The theme, victory through joint action. Army, Navy and Air Force as one integrated war machine.
Symbolizing the collective strength, unity and integration of the Indian Army.
The Suryastra and the BrahMos weapon system.
Then came the headliner, BrahMos. The supersonic cruise missile built for speed, precision and deterrence, a system that can be launched from land, sea, air and submarines.
India's air defense architecture, the Akash.
The parade also spotlighted India's air defense shield, Akash and Abra, a protection layer against missiles, drone swarms. The hardware showcase also included the Suryastra Universal Rocket Launcher System, underlining India's growing long-range firepower.
Suryastra.
Heavy armour rolled past Kartavya Path with the T-90 Bhishma and main battle tank Arjun leading the charge.
उसके ठीक पीछे BMP-2 और नाग मिसाइल प्रणाली.
The Nag missile system MK2 was also on display, spotlighting India's next-gen anti-tank strike capability.
प्रतीक है ये.
On top of the Kartavya Path, you can see the Sindoor formation.
The sky lit up with Air Force firepower. The iconic Sindoor formation, 7 fighter jets in formation, Rafales, Sukhoi 30 MKIs, MiG-29s and a Jaguar.
The Kartavya Path now is Prahar formation comprising one group.
During the Prahar formation, a Dhruv advanced light helicopter was seen carrying the Operation Sindoor flag.
Of the Indian Army and ALH Mark IV of the Indian Air Force formation.
A flypast that underlined one message: India's air power means business. This after a Switzerland-based report titled Operation Sindoor. The India-Pakistan air war detailed how the IAF achieved decisive air superiority using long-range strikes with the BrahMos and Scalp EG, forcing Pakistan to seek a ceasefire by 10th of May 2025. The report also says Indian strikes hit Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba hubs and key Pakistani air bases, while Indian air defences intercepted drone swarms and missiles.
Leading this formation is a C-130J aircraft.
29 aircraft in the Grand Fly Past, fighters, transport aircraft and helicopters.
Captain Akshay Kumar.
The headline, Operation Sindoor and India's joint war fighting capability for the world to see. With Shivani Sharma at Kartavya Path, Bureau Report, India Today.
Nabha Sprisham Deeptam.
So on the 77th Republic Day, the nation and the world saw glimpses of India's military might and rich cultural heritage. And amidst this, a report by a Swiss military think tank is making headlines. The Swiss military think tank, after a detailed study of the Pahalgam terror attack and India's Operation Sindoor, concluded India systematically broke Pakistan's air defense and strike capabilities. India ended the conflict on our terms and achieved the politico-military objective. More importantly, the report concludes Pakistan faced direct and repeated blows to the core of its air power, and India displayed superior depth, resilience and escalation control.
This is a specialized assault infantry unit bridging the capability of conventional infantry and special forces. Contingent of the Republic Day Parade 2026.
The drums rolled, the flags soared, but this Republic Day bore a weight unlike any before. For the first time since Operation Sindoor, India unveiled its full battle readiness to the world.
Led today by Captain Aniket Ocha of 128 Air Defense Missile.
Kartavya Path became more than a parade. It transformed into a living testament to power, strategy and groundbreaking firsts. For the first time, the Indian Army showcased its military might in a phased battle array. The sequence was clear. This was the exact deployment order in the heat of battle.
On top of the Kartavya Path, you can see the Sindoor formation.
Above, the skies trembled with the roar of a formidable 7-aircraft formation. 2 Rafales, 2 Sukhoi 30s, 2 MiG-29s, 1 Jaguar, a perfect blend of air dominance and seamless joint force integration.
और अब स्वागत कीजिए रेगिस्तान के जहाज का।
For the first time, India's animal contingent marched down Kartavya Path, where Zanskar ponies, Bactrian camels and battle-ready dogs proved their vital operational role.
This is a specialized assault infantry unit bridging the capability of conventional infantry and special.
Alongside them, the Bhairav battalion of the Shaktiban regiment joined the ranks, a symbol of unwavering discipline and strength, marking their debut alongside the seasoned Ladakh scouts.
The only active horse cavalry regiment in the world.
And then, another unprecedented sight in the sky. For the first time, the iconic flypast unfolded in 2 segments. One during the march past and another after, a choreography of power and precision. Security too embraced the future. For the first time, Delhi police deployed AI-enabled smart glasses offering real-time surveillance, ensuring a safe and seamless Republic Day. And breaking barriers, Assistant Commandant Simran Bala, just 26, made history as the first woman officer to lead an all-male CRPF contingent at the Republic Day parade. From the intensity of battlefield realism to the triumph of historic milestones, this Republic Day embodied a nation confident in its strength, prepared for today and resolute in its readiness for tomorrow. An India forged in tradition, yet boldly stepping into the future. Bureau Report, India Today.
But very interesting findings of this Swiss military think tank report. We knew it, we said it. Pakistan, of course, kept lying through its teeth, and that Pakistani propaganda network, the Chinese and other arms lobbies that peddled Pakistan's lies. But now, independent analysts studying Operation Sindoor are coming up with very clear conclusions. Joining me with the latest on India First is Lieutenant General K.J.S. Dhillon, former Kashmir Corps Commander, former Director General of India's Defence Intelligence Agency, and Air Marshal M. Mateshwaran, former Deputy Chief of the Integrated Defence Staff. Gentlemen, welcome. Happy Republic Day. Air Marshal Mateshwaran, the report concludes India hit Bahawalpur and Muridke, which it believes is a qualitative leap from past responses to Pakistan's state terror in terms of depth and coordination. The report concludes this clearly was crossing all Pakistan's red lines. And my question to you is, has India displayed the ability, and the world is now realizing it, we can repeatedly cross Pakistan's red lines, hit Pakistan in its Punjab province, the truth that the world now realizes, sir?
Absolutely. I read the report a couple of days back. I saw that and it became available through the LinkedIn. It's a very nicely, researched and balanced report. And much of what he's put out there is what we had all along been analyzing and talking over the last, ever since May. And that's exactly what has happened. So the first day's attack demolished the terrorist targets without any ambiguity. And what is most significant, which the report now acknowledges, is that over the next 3 days, the Indian military and the Air Force in particular exhibited tremendous control over escalation and responded, controlling the narrative, controlling the conduct of the war. And the attacks on 9th and 10th, he highlights quite strongly. is what finally brought the Pakistanis down to their knees. Asking for
Pakistan was
ceasefire.
down on its knees. General Dhillon, if I may, and you and I have discussed this on Chakravyuh, the podcast, General Dhillon, India repeatedly hit terror bases in Pakistan's Punjab province, then Pakistan's radars in Punjab province and of course in other provinces. But I want to focus on Pakistan's Punjab province for a moment and then Pakistani air defenses, Pakistani air bases. Why am I focusing on Pakistan's Punjab province? Because this, we were told all along, and General, you would have known this as a youngster growing up in the army, that you can hit Pakistan anywhere, but not in Punjab province. That's a red line. India repeatedly breached that red line of Pakistan decisively. Does this not prove how hollow Pakistan's armed forces are? Your take on this Swiss military think tank report, sir?
Good evening, Gaurav, and good evening to the fellow panelists and all our viewers, and wishing you all a very happy Republic Day, 77th Republic Day. Now coming down to the question which you asked. Yes, after 1971, it was for the first time that any Indian defense hardware hit Pakistan's Punjab province. You know, it's only a geographical area which is called Punjab, Pakistani Punjab, but more than that, since Pakistani Punjabi Musliman dominates the Pakistani military and Pakistan's diplomacy and Pakistan's politics and everything which Pakistan has, hitting inside Pakistani Punjab was not only a show of strength, it was a show of determination that we will hit you where it hurts the most. And we will hit you again. We hit repeatedly from 7th May till 10th of May, till as the Air Marshal was saying, that when it brought Pakistan to its knees. But more importantly, what this report says is what we have been saying all along. We have not been involving ourselves in any narrative building, any propaganda. We have been claiming and showing results and proofs. We have been showing satellite imageries, we have been showing ground photographs, we have been showing the videos captured by the Pakistani civilians, and we were giving proofs of every claim which we are making. Whereas Pakistan's claims are hollow. It started with the Prime Minister saying 5-0. He goes to Turkey, he says 6-0. He goes to United Nations, he says 7-0. I think by the end of a few months, it might go to 20-0, 30-0, or I don't know how many zeros. At the end of the day, the battles are not won on narratives, battles are won on ground. And this is what Indian military proved yet again, that we can strike you and we can call your nuclear bluff.
That's a very significant point you made. That India called out Pakistan's nuclear bluff, and I want to bring in Air Marshal Mateshwaran, because once India hit Pakistan, the 9 terror bases, including 4 in Pakistan's Punjab province and of course 5 in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, Air Marshal Mateshwaran, reports then go on to say how Pakistan responded very aggressively. Pakistan did not take it lying down, so we knew Pakistan would respond. But the report says that Pakistan responded very aggressively. It concludes at one point of time, there were 100 jets in the sky, 60 Indian Air Force fighter jets and 40 Pakistan Air Force jets. And that's huge. However, the report then goes on to say, Pakistani counter-strike triggered rapid and more consequential Indian counteroffensive. India resorted to textbook suppression and destruction of enemy air defenses. We saw it. Was Pakistan, in your view, sir, unable or incapable of defending itself once its air defenses were taken down?
Well, I think, you see, on the first day, we were quite clear that we have no interest in escalating, and therefore we very clearly sent out the message that the attack is only on terrorist outfit. And it is also a message that terrorist outfits, wherever you hide, whether it's Punjab or Kashmir, wherever it is, we will hit you. The message that we will cross the borders was to attack your terrorist outfit was already sent during the Balakot, 2019 action. But I think this time, on the first day, this was a clear message that there was no interest in escalating, and therefore we are not touching any of your military targets.
But he escalated.
Pakistan, on the 7th, and when Pakistan now escalated, therefore, thereafter, I think we have taken firm control, and we opened out the conflict by following classic military, action, which is neutralizing their air defenses, neutralizing their attacks. And the report brings out very clearly, both on 8th and 9th, their consistent attacks with drones and weapons were neutralized completely by our IACCS system and the other Akash Tir. But when they didn't stop and they were planning to escalate further is the time that we now sent out our long-range missiles to attack the airfields. And the report clearly brings out that although we did not acknowledge, we've actually attacked their very important strategic storage sites. And that probably was a major shakeup for the Pakistani leadership. I think this is within 4 days. It's a short conflict, but within 4 days, I think the military leadership quality that's been exhibited was exemplary. And
I want you to elaborate on this. That's a very significant point you make. But for those who may think, what were those strategic assets, General Dhillon, that we hit? For a moment, I want to stay on this so that you understand the Pakistani psyche. When we hit their terror bases, in typical Pakistani bravado, they said back, they said, we will also strike, and 40 aircraft they launched, and they launched their, the J-10Cs, launched their PL-15s and what have you. In response, when India hit, General Dhillon, what were those strategic assets in your view that India has not publicly acknowledged but did hit, that the Swiss military think tank also takes cognizance of, that Pakistan realized they've messed around with the wrong country, wrong leadership, wrong time?
Gaurav, as I said in my previous comment, their nuclear bluff was called. Although our military leadership in the DGMO and equivalent conferences, we have not spoken about anything like this. But since the report speaks about the strategic assets having been hit or having been hit nearby, so I will go by the official version, but I will say it in 2 lines, probably for your viewers who will understand Hindi. Firstly, आप वो बात क्यों पूछते हो जो बताने के काबिल नहीं? And secondly, धुआं वहीं से उठता है जहां पर आग होती है. Now, having said that, those strategic assets was part, hitting them or hitting around them was the part of calling the nuclear bluff. It was telling, we know where you are and we will get you wherever you are and whatever you have, come what may. So that message was very clear, and in this, the military leadership played a very good role. More importantly, the national leadership and the political will. It's not easy. First time in the history of the world, 2 nuclear powers went to war.
Yes.
It's not easy to take a call as a political leadership and as a national government to strike the way we struck. With the bravado which Pakistan always have been trying to show about nuclear bluff. So this was a very strong political will and a national leadership diktat, which military leadership proved it on ground.
Yes, absolutely. And the report does conclude that the political leadership gave a wide berth to the armed forces. They gave the broad aims, and the armed forces were able to deliver on the political-military aim. Air Marshal Mateshwaran, would I be out of place if I draw a small correlation from what happened in 2019? So we hit Balakot, crossing LC, hitting across the international border, hitting in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. That was successful. Pakistan said it will hit back, and it did try and strike. It did not cross the IB, though it did use long-range weapons. But when India responded, and then Vinku Abhinandan was shot down, Wing Commander Abhinandan was shot down, now Group Captain, Prime Minister was quoted much later at a rally. Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Gujarat, if I remember correctly, words to the effect, he said, if our pilot was not returned, our missiles were aimed at Pakistan, and Pakistan was told, Aaj ki raat hogi qatl ki raat. And Aaj ki raat hogi qatl ki raat. Jump to 2025, that qatl ki raat, 100 plus terrorists killed, 100 plus Pakistan soldiers killed in Lipa Valley. Was India then sending across that message that come what may, terrorism is unacceptable, we are imposing costs on Pakistan? Air Marshal Mateshwaran, Pakistan Air Force, this report says, faced direct and repeated blows to the core of their air power. Indian strikes on Pak bases, they sharply reduced PAF ability to sustain operations. Is that a conclusion you also draw, that Pakistan's ability to sustain operations were diminished?
Absolutely. Actually, the attack on the 9th and 10th significantly sent out a very clear message that, one, we've broken through the air defense, neutralized the air defense. Second is very precise attacks on very highly valuable targets. And therefore, they are now open to a complete destruction if they continue to escalate. And these long-range missiles, particularly the BrahMos and the Scalp and the other weapons, they are very precise, and the damage that they've caused has shaken them up completely. And let me also put it this way: out of the three military services of Pakistan, the Air Force is quite very proficient. We have a fairly good respect for them. But I don't think even they would have expected this kind of a response on the 10th, particularly on the 9th and 10th. And that has shaken them up. So it's a very strong message for the future. It's a very, very strong message for Pakistan.
Air Marshal Mateshwaran, may I request you if you could elaborate on the strategic targets that the Swiss military report, the think tank report seems to indicate the strategic targets that we were able to hit, that sent across a message to Pakistan that enough is enough, and they sought peace, they sought a ceasefire.
Well, the report comes to the conclusion based on, the photographic evidence of the attacks that have taken place. And of course, we have not, like the general said, we have not officially said anything on that. But the attack has taken place on the strategic headquarters area. And the report clearly says it is also an area where the strategic nuclear weapons are stored. And this would have alarmed the political leadership in Pakistan, as well as, I think, the Americans as well. So it left no. If further escalation would have been suicidal for Pakistan, because if the nuclear weapons have been locked up inside, then it is a serious drawback for them. And further escalation would have been unthinkable for them. They had no option but to sue for ceasefire.
May I conclude that this is the conversation on Kirana Hills, Sargodha, something that was hit in 65-71, but not with the intensity with which multiple air bases have been targeted. And we are showing those images, the command and control center at Noor Khan, the manner in which they were hit at Sargodha, in Jacobabad, in Rahim Yar Khan, Rafiki, Mushaf, Sakkar, Bulari in Sindh, Pasroor, Chunian, Malir cantonment in Karachi. That long list, Dhillon, it seems to indicate, as this report concludes, that by the 10th of May, the balance had shifted. There was a marked change in the strategic doctrine. Has the balance of power also decisively shifted? Does Pakistan realize, because each time, permit me, after Uri terror attack, India did a shallow surgical strike in multiple places, but along the LC. After Pulwama, India hit deep in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. After Pahalgam, India hit across Pakistan. Has Pakistan realized each time there's terror, India will hit deeper, harder, stronger? Next time, what's left? What would be left of Pakistan, in your appreciation, General, according to this report?
Gaurav, give me a little time to amplify a very important aspect you have touched. Firstly, comparing Uri, Balakot with Sindoor, I think they all three are different ball game. They all three were under different circumstances and conditions, and the political will, and the government's decision to say now it's enough is enough. What happened in Operation Sindoor was, when we hit on 6th, 7th night, and we said we are only hitting terror targets, no civilian, no military bases, and we don't want escalation, our aim was very clear. But when Pakistan retaliated as we know, and as there is in the report also, and on 10th, with the intensity and the violence with which we hit, and also on the line of control, not to forget very important aspect, we talked about Lipa Valley. On 14th of August 2025, Pakistan declared awards for 138 Shaheed, they called it. That means the gallantry awards for posthumous soldiers of Pakistan Army, Military, Navy and Air Force, Army, Air Force and Navy. 138 dead were given gallantry awards. That means the actual dead soldiers must be more than 400 to 500, and most of them happened in Lipa Valley and across the line of control.
Sir,
They were losing soldiers.
permit me a 30-second interjection. How do we know these 136? Because that list that Pakistan published, and the moment it went viral in India, they deleted that list in Pakistan. How do we know that these 136 shaheeds in Pakistan were all Lipa Valley or all LOC, Indian Army's fire assault, and not, maybe across KPK, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, or in Baluchistan?
Yeah, absolutely. This list of 138 was released on Sama TV of Pakistan.
Yes.
And when everyone started questioning that you lost 138 soldiers whom you're awarding, that means actual loss is more than 400 to 500, and how are you claiming victory? So this is when they immediately pulled down that list, that apart, all these soldiers, because the battle on the line of control, which happened, it was such a fierce battle, and such fierce arty duels which happened. And Lipa Valley, we are aware, one of the brigadiers intercept, which has been quoted by Indian Army Chief, one of brigadiers intercept, Lipa Valley is a brigade headquarter of Pakistan. His intercept is, file ko chodo, Muzaffarabad bhago. Now, Lipa Valley, 2 battalions were interchanging, as we spoke on Chakrview also, and they were in open. I have been a corps commander in Kashmir. Lipa Valley is like a bowl in front of you. You look down on Lipa Valley from our Shamshabari. And when that fire assault happened, and the fire assaults all across the line of control and above the international boundary, maximum soldiers' casualties happened there. And then the intensity with which we hit on 10th, that sent a message that India is ready for escalation. And there is something called, for the benefit of your viewers, there's something called war-fighting stamina of a nation. Yes. War-fighting stamina of a nation is Pakistan vis-a-vis India, which includes the military holdings, it includes the reserves, and includes the economy and what it can support and everything, and how long can we sustain a war. After 4 days, Pakistan's war-fighting stamina vis-a-vis India starts going down, and India, because of its reserves and economy, continues to have that stamina up. So a long war is not in Pakistan's favor, and what we displayed on 10th of May, Pakistan got shaken out of its slumber. They were always thinking that India will never hit like that.
Okay. Because I want Pakistan never to forget that 2019 Aaj ki Raat, Qatl ki Raat. Because if Pakistan does terror, there is Qatl that will follow of Pakistan military jihad or military terror elements. Air Marshal Mateshwaran, but knowing Pakistan as both of you do so well, Pakistan is not likely to change, its spots. Pakistan is too far down, addicted to terror to change. Should Pakistan try anything, God forbid, next time, they would know what Indian strategy is, either hit terror bases or use long-range standoff weapons to hit military installations. Wouldn't they be better prepared? Have we given away the game, sir?
Not really, Gaurav. Firstly, when you mentioned about the balance of power is never an issue. It's always with us. And what Pakistan probably has been banking on is whether we have the willpower to actually use hard power, force, as we've demonstrated in Operation Sindoor. And that is the main lesson that's gone to Pakistan this time, because after Balakot, they probably thought that we would still be reluctant to use force in a big way. And we still followed that our restrained ideology, restrained principles on the 6th night, 7th early morning by hitting only the terrorist targets. But when Pakistan now went back on their own escalation parameters, we responded very forcefully. So this Operation Sindoor message to Pakistan is that India has changed. And it's willing to
India
use force.
has changed. And now, of course, the Navy. Gentlemen, next time, it's the Indian Navy. Pakistan seen what happened in 1971. Next terror attack, God forbid, will things be so very different? Gentlemen, stay with me. I have a big story coming up, and I would love to talk to the two of you on that big story. This is coming in from China. Chinese President Xi Jinping's anti-corruption purge has entered his innermost circle. China has announced investigation into General Zhang Shuxia. He's Chinese President Xi Jinping's long-time ally, member of the Politburo and the senior vice chairman of the Chinese Central Military Commission. And effectively, he's seen as the #2 man in China's military command after Xi Jinping. China's defense ministry has now said General Zhang is being probed for, I quote, suspected serious violation of discipline and law, the standard wording used in major political purge like in the past. But experts quoted by agencies in the West say that this is a political signal that's far bigger. Even personal closeness to Xi Jinping offers no protection. Many analysts who've been watching China very closely call it an astonishing and profound shift, warning nobody in the leadership is safe now. Both President Xi Jinping and General Zhang are, at one point of time, they were described as princelings, sons of former senior officers, and General Zhang was even retained beyond his expected retirement. He's 75 years, and this kind of reflects the closeness between him and Xi Jinping. But this is not isolated action. India Today on Chakravyu's carried a detailed report about how 100 generals were purged in China, and that just goes on to show the purge and the crackdown on PLA rocket force in 2023, the unit that was overseeing nuclear weapons and missiles, the ouster of 2 former defense ministers in recent years, a foreign minister. Watchers say that PLA leadership is depleted. It raises the bigger question: who's running China's military chain of command, and what happens to Beijing's preparations for Taiwan 2027-2028? I once again want to bring in General Dhillon, as former DG DIA. General Dhillon, your take on this purge? The man closest to General Xi has been purged.
Gaurav, good evening again, and good evening to Marshal Mateshwaran and your viewers. In China, we all know there is no democracy, but there are no democratic processes also. Anyone who is found to be even suspected of not being loyal to the top man, he simply disappears, irrespective of his rank, irrespective of his background, irrespective of his contribution to the nation. And military there is not for combat, especially the military generals. They're not for combat. They are to provide political security to the top man,
Okay.
to the Politburo. And that is where the military generals are always supposed to be loyal and absolutely loyal. But when there is suspicion, one is that person is under a scanner, so he is removed. And this also serves as a signal to others who may be indulging in or may be at the verge of just toppling over to indulging in such activities which are not in favor of the top man. So China is a different country. There are no courts.
Okay.
Sorry?
No, I want to bring in Air Marshal Mateshwaran for a quick word. Does this indicate, Air Marshal Mateshwaran, that either Xi Jinping is completely in control or he suspects even those closest to him, and there's a lot of insecurity? How would you read these developments? If 100 generals were purged then, his closest people are being purged now.
Gaurav, I see it a little differently. Xi Jinping, when he came in 2012, and that's generally the pattern, the new leader then clears off some of the people and brings his loyalists to man the power centers. CMC is the most important, powerful body. But Xi Jinping in 2014 made himself for life, the chairman for life.
Yes.
Right? So now he would retain power only if he holds people like General Dhillon said, people who are loyal to him, whose loyalty is absolutely beyond doubt. And second, the Communist Party of China has always said that PLA is its most important arm to ensure single party rule or a communist rule in China.
And that's where trouble is. I have breaking news coming in. Gentlemen, I'd love to carry this conversation further, but I have breaking news coming in on the India-EU deal, and I must take this immediately. It's a big India-EU trade deal which will be announced tomorrow. India-EU free trade agreement negotiations conclude, and there's an announcement that's expected tomorrow. Commerce Secretary Rajesh Agrawal has said a formal deal to be done after legal scrubbing. The deal will be balanced, it would be forward-looking, and it would help with better economic integration with the European Union. The deal will propel trade and investment between both sides. The deal will enter into force sometimes next year. 2027 is what we understand. Legal scrubbing of text to take at least 5 to 6 months. Formal signing of the deal would be post that. That's the information that's coming. I want to bring in our Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan once again. Geeta, big statement. So you have a framework agreement, legal scrubbing to be done over the next 5 to 6 months. So benefits then would only come in much later.
Well, that's right. We did say that it'll take a few months for the entire legal scrubbing and the clearance from the EU Parliament to happen. And once that process is over is when the deal will kick in. But remember, this is not a bilateral. It's not a one country and another country coming together. It's 27 member states of European Union coming together with India on a free trade agreement. That's why it's being called the mother of all deals. And while we're talking about this, and the Commerce Secretary has posted that the announcement will be made tomorrow. It's just a matter of time. That's what's important, that things are not going to be left hanging, things are not going to be left for a later year. It's going to be in a few months that there is going to be absolute clarity with which both sides are going to work towards ratification and then implementation. So that's the news that's coming in, and this even at a time, Gaurav, when America is watching this visit and this meeting and the announcement tomorrow very closely. In fact, Scott Bessent, not on one but on multiple occasions, has been repeatedly talking about the India-EU deal, saying that, well, we impose tariffs, but look, Europe is going and cracking a deal with India. So there is going to be some very strong reaction. Expect that from DC once the formal announcement is made tomorrow with the European presidents and Prime Minister Modi.
Okay, Geeta, stay with me. Let me also bring in Chetan Bhutani of Business Today joining us with more on this. So, Chetan, you've been speaking to your sources in the Commerce Ministry. For a very long time it was said this deal so near and yet so far. Are we moving closer but still so near and yet so far? Or now it's only the nuts and bolts and legal scrubbing that's an issue?
Well, Gaurav, it's just a matter of time, as my colleague Geeta just, highlighted this, as, we're going to have this deal very closer and very sooner than later. In fact, at 1:15 and 1:30 p.m., we're going to have this formal announcement by the Prime Minister on the trade deal being announced. But the final nuances and the details would be emerging at about 4:30 p.m. when Purge Goyal, the Minister of Commerce and Industry, Vikram Misri, Foreign Secretary, Rajesh Agarwal, the Commerce Secretary, and Marcos Sefcovic, the EU Trade Commissioner, and the Director General of the Trade for EU would be conducting a joint press conference at the National Media Center, whereby the details would be announced and the five nuances would be announced. So what all sectors are we addressing? We are addressing a whole lot of sectors. For example, the auto sector, the FTA conclusion and the framework. We are also addressing the agenda for deeper cooperation. The leaders may adopt a new strategic cooperation agenda that deepens ties across the broad pillars of prosperity, sustainability, technology and innovation, security and defense, automobile, mobility and professional exchange framework. So 4 to 5 key agenda items, what my sources are telling me in the Commerce Ministry, is supposed to be happening at around 4:30 p.m. But yes, 1:30 is when, 1:15 to 1:30 tomorrow is when the crucial engagement at the Hyderabad House happens. But the bigger deal would be around 4:30 p.m. when the joint press conference between the two countries happen at the National Media Center. So that will be the big thing to watch out for, Gaurav.
And keep tracking that story. I will come to Chetan and Geeta Mohan for more on the story. Now, amidst this controversy over Leader of Opposition Rahul Gandhi's seating position at the Republic Day parade, Ministry of Defence sources have said that the seating was as per the table of precedence and that there was no violation of any protocol. Further, as a special gesture and in view of Mallikarjun Kharge's health, he was allowed a personal assistant and a special parking close to the seating enclosure as per his request. So that's the information that is coming in. Moving on, that big controversy in Devbhoomi, Uttarakhand. The Badrinath-Kedarnath Temple Committee has signalled a possible restriction on the entry of non-Hindus to the Kedarnath and Badrinath Dham under its control. Why? Because this is being seen as a way to protect culture. Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami has reportedly backed the move, saying the action will be taken as per rules and the decision of the committee. But the Congress has hit back sharply, calling it divisive agenda.
श्री केदारनाथ बद्रीनाथ धाम कोई पर्यटक स्थल नहीं है, बल्कि सनातन परंपराओं का एक सर्वोच्च आध्यात्मिक केंद्र है। यहाँ प्रवेश पर प्रश्न नागरिक अधिकार का नहीं, बल्कि धार्मिक आस्था और परंपरा का है।
Devbhoomi Uttarakhand is staring at a fresh flashpoint, with faith, tradition and politics colliding. The Badrinath-Kedarnath Temple Committee has signalled a major move, a possible ban on entry of non-Hindus in temples under its control.
केदारनाथ बद्रीनाथ धाम कोई पर्यटक स्थल नहीं है, बल्कि सनातन परंपराओं का एक सर्वोच्च आध्यात्मिक केंद्र है। यहाँ प्रवेश पर प्रश्न नागरिक अधिकार का नहीं, बल्कि धार्मिक आस्था और परंपरा का है। सनातन धर्म को मानने वाले उन सब ने इसका स्वागत किया है कि गैर हिंदुओं का जो है कि मंदिरों में और मंदिर क्षेत्र में, विशेष धाम क्षेत्रों में उनका जो है कि प्रवेश नहीं होना।
So I have Tehseen Poonawala joining me on this broadcast as a political analyst. Shantanu Gupta, political analyst and author, join me. Gentlemen, apologies for the delay. But Tehseen, should non-Hindus respectfully stay away from the Badri Kedar Dham? How do you see this move by the temple committee?
Gaurav, first of all, wishing you, Shantanu, your families, and all the viewers of India today a very, very, very happy Republic Day. I love what you're wearing. Thank you so much, Gaurav. Look, I'm born in a Muslim family. I have a kalava. I believe in Mahakal. I believe in Bhagwan Shiva. I do a lot of tantra, and for me, these are one of the venues where I've gone to learn Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, and I've met a lot of gurus there. Now, I think what you should allow, there should be rules, particularly, you shouldn't make obscene reels. You must have a code of conduct. You must have a certain discipline. But I think Hinduism is the greatest way of life. I think it is so great that it doesn't restrict people. I'm respectfully saying people like me, who may have not got the privilege to be being born in this religion, also learn a lot from it. By restricting it, I don't think it's fair on us. But then, of course, I would not like politics to come in between this.
Okay. Shantanu Gupta, how would you view this move by the temple committee, who insists they're doing this to protect the Vedic culture? Why would such a move be undertaken?
Gaurav, across the world and across India, there are a lot of religious places where entries are restricted, or the people of different faith are treated differently. Let me give some examples to your viewer. Let's say Mount Athos in Greece, and you'll be surprised, only Orthodox Christian men are allowed. So even Orthodox Christian women is not allowed. Even an animal of female sex is not allowed inside that. So that's being that. We all know in Saudi Arabia, in the Makkah, even in the whole city, a non-Muslim is not allowed. Right? In Medina, non-Muslims are not allowed in certain areas. Right? Even in India, mosques on certain days, on prayer days in certain areas, I have personally seen non-Muslim people are not allowed. Even for Hindu faith, we already have multiple temples. Jagannath Puri temple, where non-Hindus are not allowed. Padmanath Swami temple in Kerala, Guruvayur temple in Kerala. And let's say in Kamakhya, on certain days, Hindu men are not allowed. So I think every such religious place, in Hinduism we call it Sthal Purana, they have their own Sthal Purana, they have their own entry. When a club can manage what dress you will wear to inside enter a club, why can a religious structure decide in who will enter there? I think we should leave it to them to manage, and not even have their view.
Absolutely. Look, any place of worship of any religion has its own set of rules. If they want to implement certain sets of rules, and we all saw what happened at the Harmandir Sahib recently at the Sarovar at the Golden Temple. So in case people want to restrict entry only to those who have strong faith and belief, because there have been instances some don't believe in it and yet they come, as you rightly pointed out, take reels, all of that strictly avoidable?
Yeah, so we can set those rules. Now see, at Kamakhya Mata's temple or at Sabrimala, those are specific rules for a certain type of practice. So I think those should be followed. Those aren't discriminatory rules. But I just feel comparing Hinduism, which is a great way of life, to Abrahamical faiths is being unfair. I honestly believe Hinduism has space for everybody. I mean, look, I'm a Bhakt of Lord Shiva. Who is anyone to tell me not to worship Lord Shiva? Right? So when I went to Mahakal, I even did the Rudra Abhishek. Now, I'm not born a Hindu. And I think it is so amazing that this faith allows
Okay.
for people to come in and it's so inclusive. I just believe it shouldn't be the case. I understand how sometimes people may feel, what if you have a Sikh prime minister again or a Christian prime minister who may want to go to Kedarnath or Badrinath to do darshan? Are
Interesting.
we
You
going to
should
stop
mention
them?
Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists.
Yeah.
30 seconds that I have, Shantanu. If I may, religions that have originated in this land, would others also be barred if they're non-Hindus?
I think I'll repeat the same point. Every religious place has their own Sthala Purana, and they should be allowed to do that. And to my understanding, if I'm not wrong, Sonia Gandhi was stopped to go to Pashupatinath, if I'm not wrong. And I think there start her animosity with the king family of Nepal, right? So there are ways, and world over, I gave you the examples of Makkah, Medina to various churches, and in India,
Absolutely.
on
Perhaps in
certain days
days
you
ahead, we
cannot go.
shall
I
have
think
this debate. My
let's restrict
apologies
that.
for cutting this short. I've run out of time on India First today.